Hello everybody and welcome again to a new way to museum with the Sternberg Museum. I'm Dr. Reese Barrick and I'm here with Dylan and Brett from Defiance Brewery. So we're going to have fun today because we're going to talk a little bit about beer. It's one of our favorite topics.
Oh, that's the key.
Yep. That's the key. So anyway guys, our first question is, how did you guys meet? And just who was it you were defying when you started Defiance Brewery?
So Matt Benner and I started Defiance Brewing Company in 2013. We met each other. We were actually working at the local brew pub here in town, LB Brewing. I had been an avid home brewer then, and we just kind of wanted to venture out. During that time frame, there was only a handful of breweries in Kansas, really just kind of focusing on traditional styles of beers. And Matt and I kind of saw what was kind of expanding in other states, in other markets, and we wanted to kind of bring that quality beer and the styles of beers to Kansas, especially in Haze. So I mean, it was kind of a whirlwind. I mean, we met and we hit it off real quick, and then the idea came to us that we should just venture out and start our own place, and here we are.
And so I'd known Bender since we started bartending together, I believe, in 2006 at the Brass Rail. I'd moved down to Texas and came back, and in 2017, I hit these guys up to see if they'd help brew a beer for the Flying Bison Disc Golf Tournament. And they were like, yeah, we'll do something like that, but on one condition. I was like, well, what's that? And they're like, you have to come help us brew. So that was the first time that I actually got to brew beer, was back in 2017 with these guys. So I knew Matt, and then I met Dylan at that time. And then in 2018, they had an opening up out here at the tap room, and I was like, well, I'm looking at picking up a part-time job, and so I started working with them in 2018.
Very cool. So you guys have a lot of different beers. They've all got kind of very cool names. So what comes first, the name or the recipe for the beer, the style of beer?
That's tough to say. I mean, we got a list of names in our little archive that we eventually want to use, but finding the right beer style to suit that name. But at the same time, a lot of time I make a beer and I have no idea what the name is going to be yet until I try it, and then we sit around and have a couple of beers and be like, hey, this is a perfect name, suits it well, and so yeah, it kind of works on both ends.
All right, so who's in charge of coming up with the name versus who's in charge of coming up with the recipe?
Names, it's definitely a group effort. I mean, we a lot of names that I come up with are kind of music oriented. Everybody, like I said, we have a whiteboard filled with names, and if someone comes up with something clever or that we think would be a good fit, we write it down. I mean, I know Brett's came up with a few. I mean, bartenders have, Matt has, I mean, everybody has, my wife has. As far as the recipes, I come up with majority of them. I like to kind of get insight from our employees, Brett, Sydney, our two brewers. My wife's also a brewer here. Kind of work backwards. That's how I like to do recipes, is what do we want the finished product to be, and then we kind of work backwards from there. So it's definitely a group effort for sure. I mean, everybody has a different taste. I know I like certain beers, and I know Brett likes certain beers, and yeah, like I said, it's really ever-ending with beer. I mean, anything you can think of, you can potentially make it happen.
Well, that's always an interesting thing. Is there anything that you can't put in a beer?
Well, I mean,
what's the weirdest thing that you've put in a beer?
Weirdest thing I've ever put in a beer? I mean, boy, I wouldn't say it's weird, but peanut butter. But I've definitely seen some odd beers out there, but we don't stray too far on that side of the realm. But so for us, legally, for us to make a beer and package it and send it out to the market, we have to go through the government, which has a list of ingredients that we can legally use and put in our product. Which it's a big list. I mean, you name it, it's probably on there. But yeah, I mean, it's really never ending.
So you never want to grind up some shark's teeth so you can give your beer a real bite?
Right.
It'd be a good fossil beer.
Right. Yeah, maybe.
But no, there have been some breweries that have been very creative. There was a Mountain Oyster Stout that was done. What, you remember what the brewery was called?
Yeah, it was Falling Rock. No, not Falling Rock. Can't remember off the top of my head. They're in Denver, but they did it as a April Fool's joke and did a little commercial and everything. And then they inevitably made the beer and packaged the beer, and I was able to try the beer too, and it was delicious.
Fantastic. Well, you guys have done a couple of collaborations. So who comes up with collaborations to do?
Oh, I mean, like Brett with the Sternberg, he kind of took charge of that one with Curtis, kind of got the ball rolling on that. We've done several collaborations with breweries here in Kansas. We were actually the brewery that started, so every year for Kansas Craft Beer Week, we do a whole group brew with as many of the Kansas breweries that we can get together. So the first year we hosted it here, and we had 18 breweries, I believe, somewhere around there. And then Wichita Brewing Company in Wichita has kind of taken that over and done that. But I mean, we've done collabs with LB downtown pretty recently. CSB in Wichita, we've done collabs with. We're actually going to be doing a collab with Good Times Motorcycle here in town for August. So I'm really looking forward to that one. But yeah, so it doesn't have to be brewery to brewery, obviously, with Sternberg. So I mean, it's a very vast, area that we can, collaborate with and come up with something unique.
You guys did one with Rob Miller, right?
Yes. So yeah, Rob Miller, he has Global Liquors in Wichita. So we did a collaboration with them, so a liquor store. So yeah, like I said, really, I mean, it's kind of pretty endless that, who we can partner with.
So you worked with Curtis to get going with the Sternberg. Now, was he out here and threw out an idea to you, or did you throw out that idea to him?
I think he kind of pitched the idea, and I was like, well, let me talk to Dylan, and we set up a meeting. We got together and hashed it out, and we are like, yeah, what do you guys want to do? And you guys came out here the first time, and I remember going through. You already had a list of names for beers, and the one that really stuck out was Gillicus Island. And for me, going back to my childhood, I was like, that's the one. So we'll give. I don't know who came up with that one, but Sternberg.
That was actually Rachel who came up with that name. So.
Yep.
Rachel. Props.
No, like Brett said, that name really stuck out conceptually with the label, the artwork, the whole concept around the fish within a fish, Gillicus Island, and the style of beer that we were shooting for. It just came together like that. I mean, it was a perfect match.
So what kind of beer, what style of beer is Gillicus Island?
So it's a New England style IPA, so people hazy IPA, just a softer, more approachable style IPA. The hops that we use in it give a real tropical, pineapple, mango, passion fruit, guava notes to it. So I mean, the whole idea with Gillicus Island, the artwork, and then having a tropically kind of flavored IPA, just I mean, it was meant to be.
There we go. So that's what makes it islandy. Got some tropical
Yep,
fruit
absolutely.
flavors. All right. So why hops? And why is it called India Pale Ale? I have no idea where that.
So India Pale Ale originally came from, today it's a very loose term, but originally India Pale Ale came from when they had beer in Britain and they were shipping it to India. So hops are actually a preservative. So they used more hops in that beer for the time frame on, getting point A to point B. Now IPAs is a very loose term. You got New England style IPAs, West Coast IPAs, red IPAs. I mean, you name it. Anything you throw hops in there, you could potentially call an IPA. We've really Big Money, our breakfast IPA. We've really kind of went for like an Orange Julia style, real approachable. I've had so many people say, I don't like IPAs. I'm just like, well, just try this, and then I love this beer. I mean, so IPA is such a broad term for a beer style. The hops that you can use there's so many good varieties of hops out there now. Like the varieties that we chose for Gillicus Island, like I was mentioning, are very tropical, fruit forward. There's a lot of hops out there that throw, spicy notes or more floral notes, citrus, grapefruit, tropical. I mean, you name it. And making a recipe is fun because you can kind of mesh all those flavors together and come up with something really, really unique.
Are there new hops that we're using in this one, or that you for the first time?
So so in this one we were using Citra, Mosaic, and Sabro. Sabro is a fairly new hop. Citra and Mosaic have been around for a while, but Sabro is a very unique hop. It's very coconut, tangerine kind of forward. So that's why I thought it was a perfect fit with Mosaic and Citra, because those are very on the pineapple, grapefruit, fruity side, where that Sabro will kind of throw in that distinct coconutty kind of aspect to the beer.
Just things that Gilligan would expect to find on Gillicus Island. Very cool. So you said a New England style or hazy. What makes it hazy or New England style?
It really comes down to the brewing process, the water treatment, the yeast selection that we use for it. The hops that we use, how we hop the beer. So like when you see like the haziness in the beer, a lot of people think it's like, oh, it's just a yeasty beer looking beer, which actually is not true at all for those styles of beers. It's all really the hop oils that are kind of in suspension still on that beer. So like the hop process, how we do for like Gillicus Island compared to like Twisted Logic or year-round IPA, it's a completely different process. So we utilize hops at a different time, different temperatures and stuff like that really utilize and extract as much flavor and aroma that we possibly can out of those beers.
So I did a little bit of research. Making beer is really old. You can go back, they found some yeasts in northern Israel that go back, 1800 BC, where they had found, containers that had beer in them. Mm-hmm. They've gone back 13,000 years where they've found what looks like beer. It's gotten to the point in different parts of the world where they actually question whether bread was first or beer was first, which means which one led to agriculture. Was it beer or was it bread? Which is kind of cool. So some pretty ancient origins to beer making. So the question is, how did you get into beer?
So I started home brewing a long time ago. My brother was actually living in Korea at the time, and the beer selection over there was, craft beer wise, was non-existent. So he started homebrewing, and that kind of enticed me to kind of see what could come about it. And just like, I'm a very hobbyist forward guy, so I really got hooked to it and really never looked back.
So we've been talking about it, so can you just sort of take us through the process of brewing Gillicus Island?
Yeah, absolutely. So the day before, we milled in our malt, so we had our good malt bill. We used a few different varieties of malt in this batch. So our standard base malt 2-row. We used a little bit of Vienna malt, which gives it a nice clean, soft kind of biscuity notes to it. Also with a lot of flaked wheat. That flaked wheat gives the beer a good body to the style of beer. So the hazy IPA really benefits from like flaked adjuncts, so like flaked oats or wheat or barley. So yeah, we milled in the day before. You guys came in, and the brew house behind us, we essentially just mixed the grain with water at a certain temp, let it steep there for a while. That starch that's in that grain will convert over to sugar in that mash rest. So then we'll transfer it over to our kettle, and that's where we'll begin adding the hops while we boil. So we don't add too many hops on the hot side, so the boil side, majority of the hops go on the cold side in the fermenter, which again leads it to a more approachable style IPA. Yeah, like I said, I mean, it's a pretty simple process. Essentially, we're just making a sugar liquid and keeping everything clean, getting into the fermenter, and letting the yeast do the job.
Yeast always has to do the hard work, huh?
Yep.
It's funny, Curtis told me he was doing the hard work.
Exploiting cheap labor.
So, what's the future of Defiance?
We're building an empire.
No, we just opened our brew pub downtown last year, which is going fantastic. We got Brett now on our full-time sales guy, head sales guy. Brand master is a better term.
Brand master, sound like that.
Right.
I got to come up with my own title.
Right. No, I mean, we're excited about the future. Collaborating with people like you, companies like you guys, just making new styles of beers and really opening up, Western Kansas just to see what people like and, just exploring what beer where it can take us.
But leading into that as well, coming this fall, we are going to be the official beer of Fort Hays State University. We will have a beer coming out called Tiger Gold. Dylan could probably tell you a little bit more about the recipe, but it's a good, unique partnership that we're really excited about. And
I'm very excited.
Students,
about that.
staff, and alumni alike hopefully can get their hands on this. And
Absolutely. I mean, me being a Fort Hays grad, the opportunity to do that was no question. It's going to be very, very nice.
I'm an alumni as well.
Yeah.
Grad and undergrad.
So for that beer, we're doing a German style lager. It's going to be just a real nice, clean, easy drinking beer. It's going to be a style that I go to every day. At a certain point, when you're around beer all the time, you just like something easy to drink, and that's what we're shooting for. And especially, like I said, teaming up with Fort Hays that's something else. It's going to be really fun.
Very cool. So, any future collaborations with the Sternberg?
Absolutely. This is just the start.
I mean, this is going to be a great learning experience where we get an opportunity to be able to get feedback, kind of evaluate the success, opportunities to be able to do better. So I'm really excited for this to be able to come out, and then hopefully we can all get together and have a follow-up meeting and throw out some other ideas or opportunities that we have. So it's been a lot of fun working with y'all, for sure.
Oh, yeah.
It's been a blast for us and for all of you out there watching us on our New Way to Museum. We're happy that you joined us, and we'll be back again, maybe looking at a little canning process or something else that goes on here. So join us again, and we'll see you again next week. Thanks for joining us in A New Way to Museum with the Sternberg Museum of Natural History. If you enjoyed this video, like it and subscribe to our channel. Hit the bell for notifications when we release a new video. Support us on Patreon for early access and exclusive content. You can also follow us on all our social media. Links are found in the description. Thanks for watching, and follow your curiosity to new discoveries.